Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Vienna Live with Simeon Morrow and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please go to the LinkedIn live video feed, the link to which I've just placed in the chat room. Tonight, our featured guests are Ryan T. Bailey, a jazz guitarist, and Luis Briones, a jazz drummer, who are both members of the band King Llama. King Llama's latest album, Fata, Implexis, will be the subject of tonight's conversation. Welcome, Ryan. Welcome, Luis.
Hi. How are you, Simeon? It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Ryan, so let's start with you. Tell us about where you come from, how your musical tastes were formed, and why you decided to become a part of the band King Llama.
Sure. Originally, I come from Colorado. I was doing music out there my whole life until about just after college. And then I moved out to Los Angeles with one of my friends from out there to do a studio out here. And then through that experiences, I met Luis, and we moved on. So I came out here from Colorado about 2002, I think, strictly for music. Luis?
Hi. Yeah, I came from Northern California. I grew up in over by San Francisco and decided to move to Los Angeles around 2006, 2007 to pursue my career in music. And one thing led to another, and met one guy, met another, and eventually met Ryan Bailey. And it's been quite a pleasure since.
Okay, and
Yeah.
Luis, and tell us about the King Llama. Tell us about this band.
Yeah, so like I said, I went to college with someone who later ended up not only being a good friend with us, but a band member, which introduced me to Ryan, and everything fell into place quite quickly, to be honest. We had a lot of similar perspectives in music, and we all kind of non-verbally knew that we were looking for the same things musically. So it was, you know, a conversation that we fell into every time with music, and taking our smoke breaks and getting to know each other, and you know, I'd have to say everything, and nothing was stressful. Nothing was competitive. We didn't struggle to create our sound at that time, you know, and it's very different from what it is now. But we found ourselves just being able to get in the room together and express ourselves with our instruments the way we always wanted. And one thing led to another, and through you know, many rehearsals and some few local shows, we realized that we had something really nice and promising here, and we wanted to pursue it, and we made a lot of decisions to take it seriously. You know, I think it's easy for a group of musicians to get together and jam and experiment and play some local shows, but to make that decision to really spearhead and let's see how far we could take this, that was something that was quite effortless, and we all kind of like, you know, held each other's hand, so to speak, um, and did some great stuff. Some of my most favorite music is from that first record, and some obscure live performances we've played at some dive bars, you know, um, and couldn't be happier.
Okay. Is that right, Ryan? You guys met during
Yeah, so
smoke breaks?
I fully, I fully agree with everything that he has said. You asked us also about our musical tastes, and they've always been very different from each other in a lot of ways, but we've always shared like the same love for improvisation, jam, jazz, funk, fusion, odd time rhythm stuff. So that's always been aligned, and I think the most important thing about musical taste for us is that they're really aligned with our drive to want to be original, and to have just express ourselves through our music writing. Um, you know, we want to create, I said here, a unique adventure within our music. This is how I feel, and that this band is really like a product of wanting its own sound. So, um, you know,
Okay.
it's very personal for us.
Okay. Let's hear another track. This is Sir Isaac. Okay, so wow,
Oh,
very
that's
fun music. Yeah. So let's tell us, Ryan, what is this album all about? I'm going to show some of the cover art here. The cover art is just as fun as the music. It really takes you on a journey. Tell us about this album, Fata Implexis.
Yes, there's a lot going on. There's no doubt. I think that the most important thing to know is that we started this years and years ago. It could have been 4 or 5 years ago, really. And it's been this natural process. We have not like forced any of the music to happen or for any reason other than just loving it. And since then, we've met tons of people, including Dennis Mackay, which we are so lucky to be working with, because he's famous essentially in the sonic world, and generally he's such a nice and wonderful person. It's like I truly feel like he's an excellent friend of mine now, and it's a pleasure to know Dennis. We honestly just talk every day, and we're always working on new music ideas and everything. So I just, I really feel like there's a fit with the friendship that I have with him. And that's what I would say about the album, is that it's really representative of like this experience, this journey of becoming friends with not only Dennis, but like the other people that we play with, Anthony Crawford, Billy Paulson, and the people we've recorded with. And it's taken so long, and I just wanted to say that it's felt like there's a real natural chemistry with like how it's come together, and just being able to take our time and love ourselves, every part of it, is kind of like the most important part to me. The title fata implexis is Latin for destinies intertwined, and I like that because it's I feel like there's this journey happening, meeting people, not only musicians but industry people, and just what we're building right now. It really feels like I don't know. I like that theme. There's some other things I wanted to say, but Luis, feel free to chime in on this.
Oh, I'm enjoying hearing you speak about this. For me, it was when Ryan first presented the idea of incorporating this lore that he had written, and it's still expanding as we speak. I since then I've taken a step back and just allowed him to express himself in this idea, because it's endless. I mean, you could sit down with this guy and he could just go on and on and on for hours. There's so much creativity there. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you look at the artwork, you could clearly see on the back of the album, as you showed just a little bit ago, that is the front album. That is part of the insert. That's right there, this guy. So as you could see the song titles in the background, there's all these little Easter eggs in there that represent personal experiences that we've had since 2020, recording this album here in Los Angeles. And it would take me a long time to go through and explain everything, but if you see, there's some random guy in a graduation cap pushing a bathtub full of water, and then you got all these band members in the bus with martini glasses, and then you can look up at the moon and see a little face right there. Well, all these little things represent really meaningful, whether it's a joke or things that really reminisce with us, or difficulties that we had in recording sessions. And to be a part of something like this, and to be a part of a band that is not too caught up in having things be presented in all these clean, perfect lines and whatnot, is it just means a lot to me, because that is the fundamental of self-expression right here. We're a band, an instrumental band that doesn't really have boundaries. We set our own boundaries, and this is how we choose to express ourselves. And if I wasn't in the band, I would look at something like this. And mind you, let me say something. I grew up with records like Dookie, like from Green Day, and I can't think of any others, but albums that had a really kind of intricate, involved, hand-drawn covers. And what did we do back in the day? We would listen to music and stare at the cover, right? You'd open up the vinyl and just reread the credits, and we were just complete fanatics of whatever was in front of us. And that is a very special connection that I've always had with music and albums that are meaningful to me, is the artwork and how it feels in the hand, and what it looks like, and the poster on the wall, and whatever. So for me, it's just such a blessing to have somebody like Ryan share his story and his vision, and I couldn't be more thrilled to see where this is leading.
And I couldn't be more thrilled to have the talent of the drums. Okay, so it's not two-way street, my friend.
Okay, let's have a listen.
Thank you.
Let's have a listen to another track. This is Level Z. So tell us, Ryan, tell us about you guys as band leaders. Luis was saying, he heard you play and you guys suddenly knew, okay, yeah, I want to undertake this musical journey together. Now, this
Sure.
band, this fusion band of yours has also violins, cellos. I'll show that in a second. What is it that you guys look for in a musician? What makes a great musician to you guys?
Okay. Well, being band leaders, there's obviously all the regular challenges with being in a band, like schedules and new and old band members, and industry opportunities and contacts and all of that stuff. But I do feel like we've dialed in like a pretty good team, and we're pretty proud of everyone within the inner circle of what we have, because we're all on the same page and we all have like the same love for this style of music and the integrity in ourselves as musicians. And so, and then, um, so you had said, tell us about band leaders and how you put this band together. Or what was your question exactly?
Yeah, sure. What is it that you look for? Yeah, how did you put this band together? Mhm.
Oh, right. What do you look for in musicians? Well, I mean, obviously a level of musicality, but chemistry and
Mhm.
really more of like a good hang. Honestly, it's if you can get along with somebody, if they're at generally that level of musicality, then that's where the real connection is and the real music can happen. So that's really the most important thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, this process should be effortless. You know when you're in the room with somebody that you can get along with, and that is the majority of it for us. Um, but the musicality, like Ryan is saying, is we're here to make music at the end of the day, and our creativity and our ambitions take us only as far as we could execute, and we could sit in our rehearsal space and work things out. But if nobody, if the wrong person is there with the wrong intention and they're not in the room with us, willing to go on this ride of that involves a lot of patience, and sometimes you leave the space going, just nothing makes sense. Nothing feels settled. You know, because it takes time. This is a dance, and your partner, so to speak, has to be willing to show up and be there. And maybe tying us back to the album that we're listening to. It took us 4 years, and I'm not saying that with intention of like, oh my God, it's been 4 long years. No, we took our time and made sure that our songs were represented the way that we envision them, the way we spent time developing these songs. And without this crew of musicians in particular that you hear on Fata, it wouldn't have been possible. Just like that's what it is.
Okay, let's have another listen. This is another part of Sir Isaac. Okay, this brings us to our more philosophical part of the conversation that I know everyone looks forward to every week. Ryan and Luis, before hearing your music, the listener experiences the lore visually through the illustrations. To that end, you write, quote, "First, so we don't get the wrong impression, please understand that this story was never intended to represent the meaning behind the band or the music. King Llama is an experimental and instrumental jazz band, simply so. Our band name, song titles, and artwork, as well as the nature of our music, all do all work together to illustrate a unique imagination of adventure in some type of medieval fantasy, but mostly that has always been for the artwork's sake and the band name," end quote. In classical music and jazz, musicians often roll their eyes when someone tries to connect a story to a symphony or a tune. Nevertheless, those same musicians can't understand Beethoven's Fifth Symphony without qualifying the symphony as a quote unquote struggle or heroic battle. Where does King Llama and quote the experimental and instrumental jazz band stop and King Llama, the lore, begin? Why don't we start with you, Ryan?
You've done your homework. I don't even know where to start. Okay. First of all, the lore, I've never really intended on that being the name of anything. That's sort of stuck somehow with somebody else suggested that. But yes, I did create like a fictional fantasy story about a world of llama people on the other side of the galaxy and where they came from and all of that kind of stuff. It's I'm not going to go into that, but that's the thing. Nobody's really knows that or knows the story or any details about that, except for all the people in the band and some close friends and whatnot. But it would take me hours to tell it, and I'm working out a way where I can, talk about it on online somehow. It just hasn't been told yet. It's only really in the visuals that we have heavily because we have multiple posters from the past, and we're printing some new posters soon. And the new album art, it has all these characters, and it's got this world, and oh yes, all of that stuff. The character in the lower right corner is an old character from an old song that we have called Captain Mustard Hair, and he is one of our main characters throughout the whole story. But again, it's very involved, and I can't really go into that. But you were asking, where does the jazz band end and where does the lore story start? And currently, and how it's been is, I guess, the jazz band ends when we get off of the stage. And the lore story kind of exists and will exist, online. Because I'd never intended to really force the story, into the show or into the ears of my audience. We're a jazz band. We play music and stuff, and that's great. It's sort of a thing that could be cool for a little subculture of our audience as we grow or something like that. So it's been kind of a background thing.
Okay.
And I guess that's, to the future, maybe there's room for it in the show. We'll see what happens.
Luis, quickly, does that take away from the music? Might that turn off some people? So I guess you're not going after Taylor Swift fans with that kind of artwork and that kind of story. Is that does that distract from the jazz band, or does that add to the jazz band? What are your thoughts?
I would argue that there are some Taylor Swift fans that would be King Llama fans. you know, um, I think it takes a certain caliber of musicianship and production to execute something of the size of a Taylor Swift or a modern pop artist. But I'm sorry. What was the question again? I got distracted. My apologies.
No, the question was just, is that King Llama, so it's a jazz band, but you also have this artwork. Some people, they'll hear the music. If you put kind of this is a very fantastical artwork with this story, some people might say, listen, that's a little bit too far. I want to listen to jazz. I don't want this story about King Llama. Do you see it as contributing to the music as well?
I absolutely see it as a contribution, but I also, to be honest, if they don't like it, that's perfectly fine. I could care less if people don't like the artwork. I could care less if people don't think it's a good match, because what are we expected to do? We're an instrumental band that speak through our instruments, and that sounds cliche, but there's no vocals, there's no lyrics. As of now. Who knows what the future entails, but um what more perfect opportunity for a group of musicians to not only have adventurous music and storytelling through legato leads on guitar and thunderous tribal drum beats, that's produced beautifully, by the way, by the amazing Dennis Mackay, our good buddy. But the pairing and the creativity with this artwork is just perfect in my opinion. And quite truthfully, if you look at the other people in these categories, and in at least from what I've seen, what I've been exposed to, other bands that are similar, that have similar approaches, they might dabble in some cool quirky animations, or they might play off the whole like not having a lead singer and having more room to be expressive through other media sources. I would be very, very happy to be the first band to sort of trailblaze in this concept of like intertwining illustration, storytelling through video, and the music. There's nothing holding us back. If anything, we would be holding ourselves back by being worried about how people are going to perceive this, this Captain Mustard hair sitting on a bus stop. It's all interpretive. It's metaphors, and you know, that's that's what it is. We're going to keep putting this out, and it's going to resonate with the people that are meant to be there to experience it. And if not, they're going to move on, and we'll still be at the studio.
Okay, let's have our last track of the evening. We're listening to Hamilton. Last thoughts, Ryan, or actually, let's start with Luis and then Ryan. What do you wish those now? What's the ideal reaction? How do you want this music to be received? You already said, okay, some people aren't going to get it. What do you hope? What do you wish people who listen to this music that so clearly is at the center of your lives?
That that's a that's a really good question, because and it's a deep question, because music is who I am. Music is my representation of my feelings and my relationships and my moods and everything, right? Um and the cliche answer would be, I hope that people listen to our music and feel inspired. Um, but it's true. It's true that we need to allow art to move us, and to we need to allow that whatever emotions and sensations we receive while we're listening to this music, um, to trigger new creative thoughts and more positive feelings within us. Whether that gets translated into, hey, you know what, that dusty guitar in the corner, I'm gonna go pick that up because that was kind of, um, so in the end, ideally, I would say I would love for people to listen to the music and walk away thinking to themselves, I really enjoyed that. That was creative. That was interesting. There's a little bit of it that I fantasize about, people not really understanding the full depth with King Llama. I like the to fantasize about that because it's kind of like an unresolved thing, you know. When I'm not sure of something, I'm like, I think I like that. I think I like this new album. I'm not it I end up I keep coming back to it. But by doing so, I learn more and more about it. I understand a little more about the artist. I subliminally start implying that into my own musicality, and it goes on and on and on.
Okay.
So I'm rambling here, but yeah, I just hope it triggers the right kind of sensation in people's minds and
I
makes them
agree.
feel good about us.
Ryan, what about you? You want that? You want to pick
The only
people's
point
interest?
the only point I would say is that as musicians, I think that we really feel like we put in a lot of nuances in this album. There's a lot of fun parts to listen to, and like I said, we're able to take our time in making it for so long. So we really enjoy almost every bit of it. So I suppose I would wish for the audience to be able to do that as well, to enjoy all of it, including like the sonic mix of it, because
Yeah.
Dennis mixes these things not in a day, not in hours, like some people. Like he really puts his time to revisit these things. So it's very personal for us. And I just want people to understand that. It kind of goes in the artwork as well. Like the album evolves in complexity. Towards the end of it, it starts adding other instrumentation and other things like that. And the artwork does too. If you look at it from the bottom to the top, it evolves in complexity, and it's the whole thing is kind of a concept album to us, even though those days are not, they're not really around anymore. But still, I'd love for people to just consider how it was made, and that there's just a lot to enjoy about it.
Okay. Let's see how we can get it. It's available at KingLlama.com. And you can, I think, buy it here under merch. And you have, is that right? Is it around
There's everything will be available
music? There it is.
on our
There it is.
website. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Got it.
there's one more thing I wanted to mention, which is that we are signed through Bungalow Records, distributing through Universal Music Group. So we're on all of the platforms that people would want for downloading and streaming, like Spotify, to iTunes, Pandora, Apple, all of that stuff. So I just wanted to be able to mention that, and to say our website will direct everything, including live shows in the future and all of that stuff. So
okay,
thank
excellent.
you
So
so much.
visit KingLlama.com for all information. Reach out to Luis and Ryan if you have any questions. Thank you so very much
Please.
to Ryan T. Bailey and to Luis Briones.
Thank you, Sumi.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So let's see what's coming up next week on Vienna Live. First of all, I'd like to point out that at simeonmorrow.com, you can sign up for the Friday greeting and insights into the upcoming week's shows. Just put in your email and push subscribe. So next Wednesday, September 11th, our show is Andrew Wilcox, Dear Mr. Hill. The title, Dear Mr. Hill, the engaging debut album by the gifted pianist and composer Andrew Wilcox, is addressed to the legendary Andrew Hill. But the album as a whole, a spirited mix of original compositions and keenly chosen standards, is a missive from Wilcox to the many mentors and influences that have guided him along this path. Due out August 16th via Truth Revolution Record Recording Collective, Dear Mr. Hill not only conveys the musical inspiration of those teachers and influences, but surrounds Wilcox with them. The album teams Wilcox with the veteran rhythm section of bassist Avery Sharp and drummer Yoron Israel, both of whom have taken the young bassist under their prodigious wings. Come welcome Andrew to our show. As always, all information about upcoming shows may be found at www.simeonmorrow.com. That is next weekend, next Wednesday again, Andrew Wilcox, Dear Mr. Hill. Once again, thank you so very much to Ryan T. Bailey and to Luis Briones. Thank you very much to our supporters, Victoria and Frederick Mulligan, Abby Moser, Agnieszka and Benoit Rivolet, and Mary Schlesinger. Thanks also to my cousin Mike, a marketer from Layer App. If you're an architect or an engineer, they have a really cool tool you should check out. Thanks most of all to all of you, our participants who make it all worthwhile from Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles, California. Goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.
Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having us.